Meet Nina Kapoor, the poor waitress who stole Millionaire's heart. Nina worked long, exhausting hours at the small diner in her hometown. Every day she balanced multiple jobs, serving coffee in the morning, sweeping floors in the afternoon, and studying business in night classes, all to help care for her ailing grandmother. Despite her struggles, Nina always carried a warm smile and a hopeful heart. One cool, rainy night, the diner was quiet except for the soft hum of conversation and the steady beat of raindrops on the windows. As Nina hurried between tables with a tray of hot coffee and fresh bread, the door swung open. In walked a man whose presence seemed to fill the room. Dressed in an impeccably tailored suit and carrying an air of quiet confidence, he chose a seat by the window, his eyes briefly scanning the modest interior as if searching for something unexpected. Fate intervened in the most ordinary way. In the rush of a busy night, as Nina hurried to serve him, her hand slipped unexpectedly. Time seemed to slow as a scalding cup of coffee arced through the air, its hot liquid splashing onto his pristine suit. In that split second, Nina's heart pounded with shock and a deep, sinking mortification. Without a moment's hesitation, she darted forward, her eyes wide with worry and cheeks flushed with embarrassment. With trembling fingers, she began dabbing at the fabric, her soft voice overflowing with apologies. Each word she spoke was laced with genuine remorse, as if she hoped to undo the accident with her sincere contrition. Yet, instead of the anger or frustration she had braced herself for, the man looked down at her with a calm, understanding smile. His eyes, warm and kind, met hers in a way that instantly put her at ease. It was a smile that spoke of empathy and forgiveness, an unspoken message that accidents happen and that harsh words were not necessary in moments of human error. In that brief, charged moment, as their eyes locked and the tension of the mishap lingered in the air, Nina sensed something unexpected. Behind the expensive suit and his quiet dignity, there was a man of genuine warmth and grace, a man who valued kindness over appearances. This small human exchange, filled with vulnerability and understanding, hinted at a deeper connection waiting to unfold between two very different lives. As the rain continued to fall outside, each drop seemed to create a gentle symphony against the window, setting a quiet, almost magical backdrop inside the diner. Amid the soft clatter of raindrops and hushed conversations, Adrian Blake found himself captivated not by his own concerns, but by the young waitress before him. Her eyes, sincere and full of an unspoken story, shone with a warmth that reached beyond the simple duties of serving coffee. Even in a moment of embarrassment, when a spill had caused coffee to stain his otherwise impeccable suit, Nina's gentle manner and the genuine remorse in her smile revealed a depth of character that struck a chord with him. In that fleeting conversation, as Nina quickly apologized and explained her busy life balancing multiple jobs and evening classes, Adrian saw much more than just a dedicated waitress. He saw a determined student, someone who fought daily battles to create a better future for herself despite the weight of her responsibilities. There was an undeniable resilience in her soft-spoken words, a courage that shone through even the smallest gestures. Her humble way of handling the situation, with a calm dignity and a touch of humor, spoke of a person who had weathered life's storms with grace. For Adrian, who had grown accustomed to the rigid and often cold world of high society, this chance encounter was like a breath of fresh air. Her authenticity and inner strength were not something he had expected to find in the midst of a rainy night at a modest diner. It was a simple accident, a spilled cup of coffee, that had unexpectedly woven their lives together, bridging the gap between two very different worlds. In that quiet moment, as he studied her eyes filled with both vulnerability and fierce hope, Adrian felt the stirrings of interest and compassion. It was as if fate had gently nudged them into a connection that promised more than just a brief conversation, a connection that could, in time, change both of their lives forever. The very next day, as Nina was preparing to close up the diner, she was surprised to see Adrian waiting just outside. The soft glow of the evening lights framed him in a gentle, welcoming aura. His presence, both unexpected and warm, made her heart skip a beat as he greeted her with a friendly smile that felt sincere and kind. "Good evening, Nina," he said, his voice calm and inviting. "Would you join me for a short drive downtown? I'd really like to talk with you." Curiosity mingled with a touch of excitement as Nina agreed. In the quiet hum of his car, the journey downtown became a gentle prelude to something she couldn't yet define, a promise of change and possibility. The city lights blurred past as they exchanged light conversation, each word building a subtle bridge between their two very different worlds. When they arrived at a sleek, modern office building, the contrast to the humble diner was striking. Inside, the space was bathed in bright, welcoming light, with elegant furnishings that spoke of care and attention to detail. As they stepped into a spacious, open area, Adrian's demeanor remained calm and thoughtful. He led her to a quiet corner where they could talk undisturbed. With genuine sincerity in his eyes, Adrian began to explain that he hadn't forgotten the previous night's unexpected encounter. "Nina, I've been thinking about what happened," he said softly. "The way you handled everything, with such grace and determination, it really moved me. You have a strength about you that isn't just about getting through a difficult moment, but about rising above it." His words, spoken with quiet admiration, filled the room with a warmth that made Nina feel seen and valued. Adrian continued, "I believe you have so much potential, and I'd like to offer you a chance to build a future that matches your spirit. I'm offering you a position as my personal assistant, with a salary that's double what you earn at the diner. I truly believe this could be a life-changing opportunity for you." As he spoke, the atmosphere was filled with a gentle, almost palpable energy, a blend of professional respect and a budding personal connection. Nina felt a rush of hope and excitement. Here was someone who recognized her worth and saw beyond the surface, inviting her into a world where her talents and hard work could truly shine. In that quiet moment, amidst the understated elegance of the office and the soft cadence of his words, a new chapter was beginning. It wasn't just a job offer. It was an invitation to step into a future filled with possibility, where her strength and resilience were celebrated, and where perhaps, in time, something deeper might bloom. Nina listened in awe as Adrian described how the job would help her continue her business studies and support her beloved grandmother. Though she felt nervous stepping into a world so different from the cozy corners of her diner, the hope of a better future warmed her heart. Later that evening, after returning home and sharing the news, her grandmother encouraged her to seize the opportunity. "This is your chance to grow and show the world what you're made of," she said, with a gentle smile that eased Nina's worries. However, not everyone in Adrian's world welcomed Nina with open arms. In the bustling office, Rachel West, a longtime friend of Adrian and the company's chief financial officer, watched the new hire with suspicion. Accustomed to the refined ways of high finance, Rachel questioned whether someone from a modest background could truly fit into their structured, luxurious world. That night, as Nina sat quietly in her small apartment, she reflected on the day's events. The promise of a fresh start mingled with a deep-seated fear of the unknown. Yet, with her grandmother's kind words echoing in her mind, Nina resolved to embrace this unexpected opportunity. Determined to prove herself, she knew that every challenge in this new chapter was a step toward a brighter future. Nina settled into her new role with a mix of determination and nervous excitement. Every day, she handled schedules, managed calls, and solved unexpected problems with a clarity that impressed everyone. Yet, when it came to the social side of the corporate world, long dinners, sparkling cocktail parties, and stiff conversations, Nina often felt lost and out of place. One evening, Adrian invited her to a grand company dinner. The room buzzed with polished chatter and elegant laughter, and the atmosphere felt like a different world entirely from the humble diner she once knew. As she tried to blend in, Nina couldn't help but notice the cold stares and whispered judgments. In the midst of the event, Adrian's mother, Cynthia Blake, made a pointed remark about Nina's simple background. The comment, delivered with a hint of disdain, left Nina feeling small and embarrassed. Despite her efforts to smile and remain polite, the sting of the words stayed with her long after the night ended. At work, however, Nina's true abilities shone through. Her practical advice and clear thinking soon caught Adrian's attention. In meetings, he began to ask for her perspective on business decisions, realizing that her fresh, grounded approach was exactly what the company needed. With each successful project and thoughtful suggestion, Adrian's respect for Nina grew, and gradually, his feelings began to hint at something more personal than just professional admiration. Back at home, the challenges were even more personal. Nina's beloved grandmother, who had always been her anchor, was growing weaker. Mounting medical bills and frequent hospital visits added a heavy burden to her already busy life. Late at night, Nina would sit quietly, the glow of the city lights outside a stark contrast to the worry in her heart, as she wondered how she could keep both worlds in balance. Through all these trials, the connection between Nina and Adrian deepened. In the midst of boardroom battles and elegant soirees, Adrian saw the warmth and resilience in Nina, the kind of strength that came from love, hard work, and a heart that had known both hardship and hope. It was in these small moments of genuine care that he began to see her not just as an assistant, but as someone who could change his world forever. Tension began to build at the office shortly after Fiona Wallace returned from Paris. Fiona, Adrian's former fiancée, arrived with an air of mystery and a cool smile that barely hid old resentments. Her presence stirred whispers among the staff, and it soon became clear that she was not just back to reminisce. Fiona's family, known for their vast resources and old ties, were pushing for a merger with Adrian's company, a move that promised big changes, but also carried hidden agendas. One afternoon, as Nina organized files in a quiet corner of the office, she overheard a hushed conversation in a nearby meeting room. Some senior members were discussing the merger, and the tone shifted when they mentioned Nina. In their conversation, she caught words that made her heart sink. There were plans to blame her for a failed project, using her as a convenient scapegoat if things went wrong. The idea that her humble background could be exploited in such a way filled Nina with dread. Outside the office, rumors began to swirl in the media. Articles hinted at a secret romance between Nina and Adrian, painting their professional relationship in a scandalous light. The speculation was hurtful, and it seemed that every step Nina took was now under a microscope. Faced with mounting pressure and the threat to her reputation, Nina began to wonder if she should leave her new role, despite the hope it had given her and the promise of a better future. Meanwhile, Adrian found himself torn. His growing admiration for Nina was now entangled with the complications of Fiona's return and the looming merger. The past and present collided in ways that threatened to disrupt the delicate balance he was trying to maintain at work and in his heart. In that charged atmosphere, Nina felt caught in the middle of forces beyond her control, unsure whether her newfound path was worth the personal cost. In the days following the heated office discussions, Nina began to sense that things were spiraling out of her control. Fiona Wallace, Adrian's ex-fiancée, had become more active behind the scenes, and whispers soon reached Nina's ears. It seemed that Fiona, with a cunning smile, was teaming up with Cynthia Blake, Adrian's stern and traditional mother, to tarnish Nina's reputation. Their plan was slowly taking shape. One morning, as Nina arrived at the office, she was stunned to see a newspaper headline accusing her family of deep financial troubles. The article claimed that her relatives had been irresponsible with money, stirring up public sympathy for those who looked down on her background. The news spread fast, and soon colleagues and strangers alike began to treat Nina with suspicion. The weight of the public's judgment pressed down on her, and she wondered if she could ever escape the shadow of her past. While Nina struggled with these damaging rumors, Adrian seemed increasingly distracted by his own business challenges. He was absorbed in talks about a major merger that could reshape his company's future. This left little room for him to notice the quiet storm brewing around Nina. Meanwhile, in a quiet evening of late work, Nina stumbled upon some troubling inconsistencies in company documents. Numbers didn't add up, and it looked like someone had altered records on purpose. Determined to uncover the truth, Nina started piecing together clues that hinted at deliberate sabotage. The final blow came when Nina received a distressing phone call from the care facility where her beloved grandmother stayed. Due to missed payments and sudden financial complications, her grandmother was at risk of being evicted. The leak in the press, the tampered files, and the merger distractions had all combined to create a perfect storm against Nina, one that directly threatened the people she loved most. Despite the growing challenges, Nina's resolve only strengthened. With each piece of evidence and each hurtful rumor, she promised herself that she would fight back. Determined to protect her family and clear her name, she prepared to face the mounting sabotage head-on, no matter what obstacles lay ahead. The next day, the office was filled with tension. Rumors had spread fast, and a major scandal now engulfed the company. It turned out that the documents Nina had discovered were just the tip of the iceberg. A deliberate setup was unfolding to frame Adrian for a series of financial misdeeds. As the media picked up the story, whispers of corruption and betrayal echoed through the hallways. Nina knew that if she stayed silent, Adrian would be blamed for something he hadn't done. Despite the risk to her own job, she decided to confront the problem head-on. In a quiet meeting with some of the top executives, she presented her findings, insisting that the tampered records were evidence of a larger conspiracy. Her bold move was dangerous, but she felt that protecting Adrian was more important than saving her position. Adrian, meanwhile, faced mounting pressure from his family and the board. His mother, Cynthia, and other powerful figures in the company began to question his leadership. But when he learned of Nina's courageous stand, he realized that her loyalty and honesty were the anchors he needed in the storm. He publicly backed Nina, declaring that he would not let the truth be buried under lies and sabotage. Just as the scandal reached its peak, another personal crisis struck Nina. A phone call from the care facility delivered heartbreaking news. Her dear grandmother had fallen seriously ill, and she was now in the emergency room. Torn between her duty at the company and her worry for her grandmother, Nina felt her world crumble around her. In that moment of crisis, the true nature of Fiona's actions began to show. Fiona's involvement in the scandal was no accident. Her ambition had driven her to manipulate events from behind the scenes. With her plans partially revealed, it became clear that she had been willing to sacrifice both the company and innocent lives to secure her own power. Caught between a corporate conspiracy and a family emergency, Nina felt the weight of responsibility heavier than ever. Even so, her resolve only grew stronger. Determined to fight for what was right and to protect the people she loved, she prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, even as the crisis deepened around her. After the whirlwind of recent events began to fade, Nina found a moment of quiet in her small apartment. While tidying an old shelf, she discovered a dusty box filled with forgotten letters and faded documents. One envelope, yellowed with age and sealed with a wax stamp, immediately drew her attention. Inside, she found a letter written by her late father. In it, he described a secret act of kindness, how many years ago he had made an anonymous investment that saved a struggling company from collapse. That company, as Nina soon realized, was none other than the very firm where Adrian now led the way. Her heart pounded as she read on. The letter hinted at a painful betrayal. The funds her father had entrusted had been stolen through a complex fraud, a scam that left their family in quiet hardship for years. Determined to understand the truth, Nina brought the letter to Adrian. He listened carefully, his eyes growing wider with each word. Moved by the discovery, he promised to help her piece together the mystery of her lost legacy. Together, they began to dig into old records and speak with longtime employees who had been around since the company's early days. Their investigation slowly uncovered a tangled web of deceit that reached deep into the company's past. One startling revelation was that members of Fiona's influential family had played a role in the fraud that had stolen her father's investment. The deeper they delved, the more the past seemed to echo into the present. Then, one quiet afternoon, Cynthia, Adrian's reserved mother, hesitantly confessed a secret. She admitted that she had known Nina's father years before, a connection she had kept hidden. Cynthia explained that he was a brave and kind man who had risked everything to save the company when it teetered on the brink of collapse. His sacrifice had not only saved the business, but had also inadvertently woven their families together in ways neither had expected. Though the revelations were heavy, Nina felt a surge of determination. With Adrian by her side and Cynthia's reluctant guidance, she vowed to uncover every detail and restore the wealth that had been lost so long ago. The hidden connections of their past were not just scars from old betrayals, they were a pathway to healing old wounds and setting things right. As they continued their search for the truth, a quiet hope began to grow, a hope that justice would one day bring redemption for all those who had suffered in silence. News of Nina's family's past began to spread, and soon the world learned more about her true heritage. It turned out that her father, long remembered as a humble man, had come from a family with a proud history of service and hard work. As details of his secret investment and sacrifice surfaced, newspapers and television programs painted Nina as a modern Cinderella, a young woman rising from difficult beginnings to show great strength and honor. The media's warm attention celebrated her resilience and the quiet dignity with which she carried her past. At the same time, the pressure from high society began to mount. Adrian, seeing how the truth was changing public opinion, decided that his company should stand for honesty and integrity rather than become a pawn in a power game. With that in mind, he abruptly ended all merger discussions with Fiona's influential family. He made it clear that the future of the company would be built on trust and hard work, not on the manipulation and secrets that had long poisoned its halls. While many cheered Nina's newfound recognition, she struggled with the changes. The sudden spotlight forced her into a world of glitz and glamour that felt distant from her simple upbringing. She found it hard to balance the public's expectations with her own sense of self, still grounded in the small diner where she had once worked and the modest home where her grandmother had cared for her. In quiet moments, Nina wondered if she could truly belong in this polished world. Even as she navigated her internal battles, Cynthia made one final attempt to drive a wedge between Nina and Adrian. Fearing that Nina's past and rising fame might threaten the status quo she had long controlled, Cynthia subtly spread rumors and sowed seeds of doubt. Yet, Adrian remained steadfast, determined to honor the woman who had proven herself through both hardship and honesty. Amid all the chaos and uncertainty, Nina and Adrian discovered quiet moments that felt like a gentle reprieve from the storm. Late one evening, after a long day of untangling problems, both personal and professional, they found themselves alone in a softly lit room. Their conversation had shifted from the pressing challenges of their world to the delicate sharing of dreams and hidden hopes. In that space, vulnerability opened a door to something far deeper than either had expected. As Adrian listened intently to Nina's recollections of past hardships, his hand brushed against hers. The simple touch ignited a spark, and in a moment filled with unspoken understanding, their eyes met with a mix of tenderness and longing. Without a word, Adrian leaned in, and their lips met in a slow, heartfelt kiss, a kiss that carried the weight of their shared struggles and the promise of a future where differences melted away. It was a gentle yet passionate affirmation that, together, they could rise above the prejudices and obstacles that had once seemed insurmountable. That kiss wasn't just a fleeting moment. It became a recurring comfort in the midst of turmoil. Over time, in between whispered conversations and stolen glances at midnight, their kisses grew more confident and tender, each one reinforcing the bond that was steadily forming. In those fleeting moments, the harsh lines of their two very different worlds blurred into insignificance, replaced by the warmth of shared laughter and soft embraces. Every kiss was a silent pledge that love, nurtured by truth and resilience, could bridge any divide. Hand in hand, they continued to face the complex reality of their lives. With every gentle kiss and every heartfelt embrace, they found the strength to confront the challenges ahead. Their love became a quiet rebellion, a testament that compassion and genuine connection could conquer the constraints of class and expectation, lighting their way to a brighter, unified future. For months, Nina had lived with a quiet, heavy hope, waiting for the day when justice would finally come. The legal battles had been long and draining, each day filled with anxious phone calls, restless nights, and the constant reminder of her family's struggle. Every time she thought of her late father and the sacrifice he had made, her heart ached with a mix of sorrow and determination. The lost investment wasn't just money, it was a symbol of his unwavering faith and a piece of her family's legacy that had been stolen away. Then, one chilly morning, as a soft light crept through her small window, Nina received the call that would change everything. The court had ruled in her favor. In that instant, the words on the phone felt like a warm embrace, a whisper that said, "You have been heard." Tears welled up in her eyes as the news sank in. Her father's long-lost investment was finally coming home. It was a small victory, yet it carried the weight of years of struggle, a testament that truth could prevail against even the deepest wrongs. Across town, Cynthia sat alone in her study, surrounded by memories of a past defined by strict ideas of class and privilege. For so long, she had measured worth by wealth and social status, dismissing those who didn't fit into the world she knew. But as the news of the court's decision reached her, something unexpected stirred inside her. Cynthia's heart, long set in its old ways, began to soften. In that quiet moment, she realized that Nina's strength, determination, and kindness were far more valuable than any amount of money or societal approval. That evening, in a modest room bathed in the gentle glow of a single lamp, Cynthia reached out to Nina. There were no dramatic confrontations or harsh words, just two souls meeting with genuine remorse and a desire for healing. Cynthia's voice was soft and sincere as she admitted, "Nina, I was wrong. I let my old beliefs cloud the truth of who you are. Your courage and heart mean so much more than any wealth or title." There was an unspoken understanding in that conversation, a shared recognition that the past no longer had to dictate their future. In that tender exchange, old wounds began to mend. Nina felt the comforting warmth of acceptance and the promise of a fresh start, while Cynthia embraced a new perspective, realizing that love and respect could bridge the deepest divides. This moment of reconciliation was more than just a turning point. It was the beginning of a renewed bond between them, where family was cherished above all else and every setback became a stepping stone toward a brighter, more compassionate future. Inspired by the justice that had been done to her family, Nina decided to use her newfound strength to help others. She began a small foundation aimed at supporting students from humble backgrounds, providing scholarships and guidance for those determined to build a better life. Every time she saw a young person take a step toward their dreams, Nina felt that her struggles had not been in vain. At the same time, the dark secrets of Fiona's family were finally laid bare. The old crimes they had once tried to hide were exposed to the public, and their reputation crumbled under the weight of their misdeeds. The truth was no longer something to be feared. It was a force for change. In the midst of these transformations, Adrian and Nina found themselves drawn closer together. One quiet evening, away from the storm of media and business, they sat side by side on a small balcony overlooking the city. There, with honesty and vulnerability, they shared their hopes and fears. In that tender moment, they acknowledged the deep love that had grown between them, a love built on truth, trust, and a shared journey through hardship. Together, they looked forward to a future where their past no longer defined them, but instead paved the way for new beginnings, both for themselves and for the many lives they hoped to touch through their work and compassion. As the final chapters of their journey began, hope shone brightly in every corner of Nina and Adrian's new world. Nina's grandmother, who had always been the heart of their family, steadily recovered, a sign that love and care could mend even the deepest wounds. Adrian's company, once driven solely by profit, transformed into a place that valued community and compassion. Meetings now buzzed with plans to support local causes, and every decision carried a touch of the kindness that had brought Nina and Adrian together. One warm evening, under a sky brushed with the colors of dusk, Nina and Adrian gathered with family and friends in a small, heartfelt ceremony. Their vows were simple but powerful, a promise to face the future side by side, to honor their pasts while building a better world together. In that intimate moment, the gap between two very different lives seemed to vanish, replaced by a union rooted in trust and shared dreams. After the wedding, Nina and Adrian began a new chapter not only as partners, but as a family. Together, they established a foundation to help working students, offering scholarships and mentoring those who, like Nina once did, had grown up facing hard times. As the foundation grew steadily, its light reached many young lives, each scholarship and each success story a reminder of how hope and opportunity could change the world. Adrian's business soon became known for its strong commitment to social responsibility. No longer was success measured solely in wealth. It was now seen in the positive impact the company had on communities. With Nina's practical wisdom and Adrian's business acumen, they blended their worlds into one that celebrated hard work, genuine connection, and the healing power of second chances. Their love story, once thought unlikely, had blossomed into a living testament that true wealth was found in kindness, unity, and the courage to rise above old prejudices. Amid these shared dreams and accomplishments, their love deepened and took on a new form. In the quiet evenings at home, with soft music playing in the background and the gentle hum of everyday life surrounding them, Nina and Adrian spoke of the future and the family they hoped to build together. Their conversations, filled with tender whispers and gentle laughter, eventually gave way to the promise of a new life. A few years after their wedding, they joyfully welcomed their first child into the world. In those early moments, as they cradled their newborn in their arms, every heartbeat echoed with the hope and promise of a brighter future. The tiny fingers and innocent eyes of their child were a living symbol of their love, a testament to the beauty of their union and the hope they had always carried for a world where compassion triumphs over division. As their family grew, so did the foundation of love and generosity in their home. Even in the midst of busy days filled with work, charitable events, and long meetings, Nina and Adrian found time for quiet, romantic moments. They would steal away for a walk under the starlit sky or share a quiet, heartfelt kiss in the kitchen after putting their children to bed. These intimate moments not only rekindled the passion of their early days together, but also reminded them of the deep bond that allowed them to overcome every challenge. Their children grew up in a home where love, hard work, and empathy were the cornerstones of life. They learned from their parents that true success was measured by the joy and well-being of others. Family dinners were filled with laughter and stories of dreams pursued and obstacles overcome. Every smile shared and every act of kindness reinforced the belief that love and authenticity could indeed bridge even the widest divides. Over time, as the challenges of the past gently faded into memories, the legacy of Nina and Adrian's love shone brightly. Their foundation continued to offer hope and opportunity to those in need, and their business thrived on principles of integrity and social good. In every new life their work touched, and in every loving embrace shared in their home, the couple found proof that a future built on compassion and unity was not only possible, but inevitable. If you believe that one small act of kindness can open the door to endless possibilities, then hit that like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you never miss a chapter of our unfolding story. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's create a community where every challenge inspires hope and every setback leads to a new beginning. Your support means the world and helps us bring more stories of love, resilience, and transformation to light. Stay tuned for the next story. And remember, every moment counts, and every heart has a story to tell. Thank you for joining me on this heartfelt journey through chance encounters and life-changing moments.